everybody. Welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Today on Arthur Brown and Claire. Claire is behind the scenes. Claire is the woman that takes care of him on every level.
And also is responsible for all the imagery, the visual imagery, and is a keen director of the visual images coming out in time. Um, and she has a walkie-talkie and talks to the person who's actually pressing the button, but she's out watching where it needs to come in and where it is.
I imagine everything is through you pretty much. I mean, she allows you to be the artist, but to be a creative free soul, you need somebody to ground it. And I always say behind every great man is a greater woman.
I'm loving this man, this interview.
Because it's true. It's that's how his success is your success, and vice versa. You're setting him up to succeed because you guys are a team.
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
and it needs both of you to succeed.
Absolutely. I think we started out on this together. I think it's 8 years now, 8 years ago, and we decided to just pack up and okay, I'll work with you, manage the business side of things, and together we had this vision of a round show that was circular. So we haven't quite attained it, but this year is what we're going for. But you're quite right. It's very difficult. I think anyone that works together in a partnership, it's your whole life. So finding balance in life is tricky, and you have to be careful that you don't just end up working solidly, which I think we have dedicated most of our time to it. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's somebody you can trust. It's somebody that you're working towards a shared goal, that actually anybody that comes with you, you both, you build a very strong team, I think. I think
I agree. I see more actually girlfriends, wives, fiancés, and women involved that are obviously just the smartest managers are coming in a lot of these businesses now, and coming in, or these horrible managers where these horrible things were, and are involved now. And I can think of a couple people the musicians really careers are bigger now than they've been.
Yeah.
And I think the good part of this is, though, I mean, if you run a business, it's kind of boring. You guys are selling candles and you're working together. Ugh. but this is music, so there is still a creative thing you guys are to be excited about because you have there's still a common goal. So it's a job, but it's also a fun job. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like it's just work. It's kind of mixed together, which may give you some levity, maybe.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I think the bit I never get involved in is in the arrangements with the musicians and Arthur and the music like that, but we do work creatively on everything else, and also any new music. It's a creative life. But I do agree with you. We were talking about it. If you look at Alice Cooper, for instance, his wife is very involved and he's very successful, and they're a very solid team. She's a very lovely woman. But together, that's a strong team. When you see that in action, and
there's others too that I can think of. I can't reach. There actually hasn't been announced that are happening there behind the scenes that publicly people aren't aware of that are the same thing.
Yeah,
and I love it. I love it. And that was my thing for so long, like for the past year. I'm like, we have to get you on.
Oh,
this is such an important thing.
Yeah,
for this to happen like this, that people need to see that it's not just one. I mean, yeah, Arthur, we know you're a super talented guy and everything else, but behind the curtain, for you to do this, for you to be the balloon to float around, someone's got to hold on to the strings and make sure everything else goes on around you. And you need to see that and know that it's not just magical.
I think the fact that you're doing this actually is really important, because I think it's a very male industry. I think it's full of, stuff that as a woman you go, oh, really? But you've embraced working with a woman, and it is a different energy. and it is a different approach. And it's not, I think women are fearless and they're quite fierce and strong and, tactical and able to look at strategies, vision, leadership, all of it. It's just, and certainly, I had a life before coming to Arthur, and it's bringing both skills together. But an artist alone to be fully creative, I think you're right. If they're not well managed or having all the day-to-day stuff dealt with, then it won't succeed in the way that it can if you've got that team around.
Well, you need to trust somebody really cares
Yeah,
about you too. You can't.
absolutely.
You always got to question somebody in a business. But
Yeah,
and I do agree with you. I think every time I get a chance to find um another example of the industry changing with the female strength, I try to bring it right up to the front as much as I can because it's ridiculous that it hasn't been bigger or more even. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And every time I get an example, I'm like, "Come on my show, let's do this. Let's you're in this band now. This band finally has a female in the band. Like, let's do this. It's a mixed
No, it's
band.
really,
Let's
really
you
good.
know."
Really good.
But I don't want to as a center point. It's not like it's oh look, it's there's a female manager. It's like no, look, this is an equal partner. Oh
Yeah,
look, and it doesn't have to be a male managing a business. It can
yeah.
be a female doing the same job, and it's an equal partnership that makes it all work. So what I mean? It's gotta you bring something like a lot more to the table I have respect for than just being some kind of like like when the band early bands be like this is a girl band and they promote it as a girl band.
Yeah,
Well, the band may have been great.
yeah.
It kind of took away from it.
I agree. And I think I've never been for that. And I don't think you are either. You know, it will be really revolutionary when it doesn't matter, when actually your gender is not actually a point. But up until that point, come on, I'm with you,
Uh,
bring it forward and actually not in a, do you know what? I'm not a dancer or in no denigration to any dancer,
no,
but there are set roles that it's kind of, oh, that's because the amount of times I get asked if I'm the dancer. No, really, I'm not the
really.
dancer.
I guess it's really.
I'm
I mean, it's always insulting because I guess technically, when guys have had women in bands in their careers, they've kind of given them jobs, token jobs.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, oh, I have a
yeah,
new girlfriend. She's now going to be in charge. You know what I mean? With that Spinal Tap, they did that. It was
yeah.
so popular. They made fun of it. Like, well, she's in charge. Yeah, Dolby. Like, it's such a joke that
I do laugh at that though, because I do say, "Oh, here's a Spinal Tap moment." We have those, don't
yeah.
we?
So I
But no,
mean, and that's what it comes down to is it was such a thing, but we're not. That's why it's as funny as a movie. It's not now. and and women can do everything. Do dance. Sure, women dance, awesome. They want to run the country, awesome. Like
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
I don't think I don't know if we're gonna see the full gender change in our life. For me, I want to raise the flag as much as I can for people like you that are already in the war field doing it. You're slugging it out with the men in a male dominated industry.
Yeah. And I think the surest way, I think I was fortunate. I had a father who said from a very early age, just because you're a girl, don't let anybody tell you you can't do something. Um, which sometimes I think he regrets because he's got quite a feisty daughter. But you know, I think the best way is not to wave banners, not to just do it and do it really well,
Mhm.
and then hold your ground. And I think that's what we do. But I have to say that within the band, within the group of musicians we're with, they notice when something's off, and it's quite strange now. They will step forward and say, "Actually, that's Claire you need to be speaking to," or "No, not me. You need to be speaking to. It's her." They We're lucky. We're with. I'm lucky, I should say, that I'm with. But it's a culture. We have a culture of people there. They're all kind of 40 something males with strong independent wives, and they completely they see it as much as I do, and they will say, "Okay, Claire, that's not okay. Get back on there. Get up there
Well, I
and
think it speaks
tell
to a
them."
lot of things too. If a lot of men can accept it, they either have grew up in a house with a lot of sisters or a strong woman. Me, I had a strong grandmother, that I would never, and I have a very strong wife. She's the one who gets things done. She's the grown up in the relationship. That's
Yeah.
Foster the mini side. She's the better side. You know what I mean? So I get that. Everything good about me,
Oh,
she's the greater person. But I even think with this situation, like, with those people, they have the respect. But in Arthur's in a spot where he comes in and says, "All right, if you're going to be the manager, he can put you in the situation, but to maintain that respect and to do it, you have to do that." And that's where the
absolutely.
team part comes. He can put, yeah, this is it. This is what I want. And I mean, you could do it, and it could be a nightmare. But if you didn't do it well for 8 years and learn it and do this, the website, the dates, the shows, us talking, Arthur being so busy, I mean, we've talked a few times. I mean, all this wouldn't be happening if what you did was unsuccessful. So
Wow, this is beautiful. This is oh my goodness, I wasn't expecting this. I thought we were going to talk, but I really appreciate it.
well,
And
you're welcome. I think it's very important that it just
yeah,
becomes a conversation like that. I
yeah,
don't hear it ever.
yeah. No, I think it's important for you. I would never do something and tell Arthur. That's I think this is probably how it works because if I was telling Arthur what to do, this would not work. This has
Mhm.
come from us having this vision creatively. And then I download, don't I? Oh, this is coming. What do you think about this? Da da da. And we do it together. And yes, I take the lead, but I can assure you that I wouldn't ever, that wouldn't work for you, would it? And that's not a male female thing. That's okay, if we're working together equally, respectfully, and I think for me, when I stepped in, my background was actually in education. And through that, it was leadership with vision management and change. So that's,
I thought you were going to say working with children, so being in charge of a band. But you get one. Everybody in the corner, get your squares.
yeah, now. But no, it's so the thing together was like, Arthur, what do you want to achieve here? Because, Arthur's fair age now to still be doing what he's doing with a
Amazing.
passion. And it's amazing. And that is the beautiful
But to be
uniqueness
as
of it.
good as sound so good. I mean, Arthur, you sound fantastic. Your creativity is still out there. It's amazing. That
Well,
you can do
I've
it.
been really fortunate, obviously, with Claire coming into the picture and making all things happen in a much different way and a caring way. It's not just like you have to make business decisions, but it doesn't mean to say you necessarily have to embrace the ethics that have attached themselves to business.
Right.
Where so you have to make certain judgments that a lot of people would say, "Phew, that's a bad mistake," and you go, "Okay, but that's how we're doing it." And so I've been very fortunate to be with Claire, indeed, and also the musicians that I've been with in different times in my career. There have been a lot of really great musicians that
Yeah.
I've always worked in kind of teams, really, because it's more the way I do things than just a solo artist.
Well, I think you're softer. I think that to be just a solo driven, I don't want to name an artist, but they're going to be a lot more pointed in what they want, a lot more stronger and opinionated and more. And that's not a bad thing because some people are just like that rigid. I don't see that about you, Arthur. And I could be wrong. I don't know you personally or hang out with you, but what I see and from you guys and from our, in getting arranging things all the time, that's what I see. I see somebody that's open. And if you're that open, you need someone to trust you because when you're that open as an artist, you can be taken advantage of.
Yeah,
People you can
yeah,
trust to be,
yes,
you need a partner. I mean, just like in music, if you're writing a song and you have a musical partner that you that criticizes you, whatever, you can hold back. Same thing in a business thing situation, in this relationship you have. If
Mm.
you have something you want to say and you think, it's kind of outlandish, you're gonna say no. Like you don't feel safe saying it, just throw something against the wall. You're not gonna do it. But if you have that safety with a partner, you guys can just be outlandish. You go like, no, back. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta have trust. Otherwise,
And
Yeah.
I think that comes to
Yeah.
the point of knowing the artist. So for me, it's I I love out there, as in someone really flying high in their own being. And I I think one of the good put this in the right context of I've watched Arthur through the period that we've been together be with a lot of people trying to sing their songs
mhm,
and being told to sing it in a certain way.
not
And
good.
it's that horrible moment of like, I can stand at the side of the stage. I honestly can say to you, even Arthur at his age, I will never doubt he is going to do an amazing performance.
Mhm.
I've never, ever had that question. However, put him with someone else's band where they're telling him how to do it, and I start to feel sick because you're almost setting up someone to not
To
do a great,
fail.
to fail. Yeah. And I think the band that we have at the moment it's that truly, we talked a lot at the beginning about alchemy of teams whereby
Mhm.
you get one person that is just slightly off and it doesn't hit that moment where everything flies. And the joy for us certainly at the end of the year, we're just trying to work out newsletters, is we are truly blessed with, and that sounds really cringy and people say this stuff, but
You
we
mean it doesn't, and
we
you're not doing an award show. You're not thanking God
no,
for your basketball
no,
trophy.
we you've got two musicians there who have worked with us since they were teenagers and they're 40 odd now.
Wow.
So that's wow. To me, we talk about this a lot. There's love. There is
Oh, good.
genuine
Yeah.
love there. And then they brought in Mr. Magic, who is Dan, who we didn't know. And oh my goodness, but the others did. So it's like this jigsaw puzzle that has,
But they're protective of them. They're family now. They're not going to bring in someone else. It's,
yeah.
that's right. I mean, so
So
are the, yeah.
there's this strength all around Arthur. But what you also, the joy of this year, I mean, we have done a fair few dates this year, and it's just ramped up higher and higher. But suddenly, I mean, when you say about being behind the curtain, I am literally behind the curtain because I'm
Mhm.
doing the costume changes. So I'm I really focus in on tiny details. So I watch the feet, the hands, all in time with music.
Yep.
So I'm watching all of the members of the band, and the last 3 months, uh, just something's happened, and out is coming because there's free. Going back to what you were saying, there's this trust and openness, which at first is quite. There's people, as you explained, there's people who like to be told, I want you to do this, this, this at this point, and I need
Mhm.
it to sound like this. That makes some people secure. And to start with, you maybe need some of that. We've talked about that a lot. Then when you've got that, then comes the freedom. And now there's just so
Well,
many
there's
layers.
rules and there's guidance with guide rails, like the bumpers in a bowling. You know what
But
I mean? But you don't
Arthur's
want to treat them
really
like a
open.
robot.
Arthur's
Yeah.
really open. And what the guys love, no show is the same because they go, but they know Arthur. So everybody's jumping in to work with each other, and we've got a new guy who's come in who's a perfect fit, and he's working the sound, which has taken it to a whole other level. And also the band sort of really embraced that. Oh, that's what we really wanted. But he's also running live feed into the show. So we've
Hmm.
struggled with this concept of shadow. We've not given up on the show because it ultimately says everything that Arthur wanted to say about his musical career and his kind of philosophy. So we've, had to drag this thing through COVID, which has been,
A
I
lot.
think it's hats off to all of us, like we're all going, hey, what a great year, because it's gone up. at a speed that because we didn't have the bookings because of COVID, because it started, then it stopped. But we've stayed, all of us, all in that band have stayed at it. And we're all now going, oh, listen,
It's
and
paying off for you now. Finally, you took a chance and it's paying off.
Yeah. And also we got a great agent, who I won't mention, but without saying names, but all of these things are lessons in, you read all the stuff about believe in yourself, self-worth, hold the dream. The guy came to us and said, oh, could you do this gig for this amount of money? And we said, no. Or I said, no, not for that amount of money. We can't do it. So he then said, well, if you do this gig at this and I get you more and would it work? So we took a punt, it's like.
That's an investment. That's different. That's not just working for one time.
Yeah.
And that goes to the thing I think where, and Arthur said, well, been lucky in his career. Yeah. There's luck, but if you need to have skill, the talent, but you also need to have the drive and to stick to it through the worst times. Because there's been times that it's been a dip in the music industry for everybody.
Yeah.
But if you're not pushing through it, luck's not going to matter. You can be lucky if you can't deliver the goods. You got a good day, You're an MTV reality show. You're gone. But if you're lucky and you got the skills and you keep working, you're going to do it. I mean, I just think technology is finally catching up to Arthur.
Yeah.
And you guys are able to start facilitating the bigger picture. I think the entertainment world is just kind of catching up to it. I don't think half people realize how strong Arthur's voice is still. Last time he was on, he started singing so loud I almost fell off the chair. I was like, I loved it. I still remember it. But
you know what? What you're saying there is, so that's what we've been talking about is, Arthur, why are you still doing this? Well, number one, it's his lifeblood.
He can't not do it. That's who he is. He can't not be a creative musical source.
But, if you were going to create something of, what's the point? Well, he's doing something he loves. He could carry on doing it at a level where he couldn't sustain a decent life. So there's practicalities in there, but it's beyond that. It's, to me, it's do something that matters in the sense of if you're going to do it really well to show people younger that you can have a life in music, because I think it's so difficult now. It's such a difficult industry to actually be able to do. But everything you're saying there is the truth of it. He sings for an hour and a half every day. I've just given up smoking. I was a smoker, but
good for you. Don't start again. Don't start again.
I don't want to. I'm like an AA person, I think now.
Don't do it.
Don't want to do it. But Arthur doesn't smoke. We don't drink. And we don't really do anything that outlandish apart from exercise and kind of be very simple living. And
I don't know why that sounds negative to say that out loud. I'm like, I get home. I'm like, I'm ready to go to bed. I'm like shows now. I'm like, can we start doing matinees, rock matinees? Because I'm telling you, man, at the end of the day, talking to people.
I think we should start that. That's it.
I'm in on that one. You guys want to start the rock matinees? I'm in with you guys. But I one of the things I've evolved. I started the show during COVID because I wanted to direct everybody because I did some music stuff in my past life and I couldn't do it. I recording and stuff. I do IT now and I'm a much more successful life. So I know, but I had the video, I had the backgrounds. I said, so during COVID, like everyone did podcasts, but like mine was not going to be a soup to nuts. When we did ours, there were some great conversations about the Kingdom Come Out. Like this is different stuff that's not, when do you get your first harmonica? When do you get your first guitar? It's out there. It's like an interrogation. To me, it was like, let's get people excited about the artist again and then send them to the website so they can buy the merch to support them during COVID. So to me, it's always been about supporting them and on every level. And this is just another level of, this is the real world. This is how successful businesses are running now, what you're doing. And you can be a musician, but I don't think the term, like, you're not gonna be like a musician where it's like throwing TVs at the window, which I would have an anxiety attack anyhow, breaking stuff. I would be the worst rock star ever. You know what I mean? I'd be the Led Zeppelin band. I'd be like, whoa, 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 whoa,
whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa,
TV, whoa, 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 whoa. I wouldn't even let them mess up the rooms and make them messy. I would but it's now it's gonna be it's almost become like a working class job. Like you get a gig and you're working and you're doing the gigs. That's kind of how it's gonna be if you like music. There's not gonna be a high point for most people. You know what I mean? You start off, you're doing the bands, you're doing the hustle, whatever. You might get more successful, but that might be it. That might be the plateau. It might not be Madison Square Garden or or live at the it leads. It's not going to be that for everybody, and that's what people have to realize.
And that's kind of
That's the new model, I think.
That is exactly what we've been looking at, because Arthur had fame and he had quite a large, chunk of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's always forgotten. And I say to him, what is it you're looking for here? Because for us, what we wanted was a creative life. So it's, if we can get to a level whereby the gigs are selling to a point where it pays everybody something, and then you can sell your merch, and then there's more to give. There's poetry, there's light, there's costume, there's drama, there's all sorts of stuff. And writing, for you write most days, don't you? It's a life, it's trying to
the finances make it better. It takes off some of the stress.
Yeah.
But it allows you to do what you're doing already as it is. It's nice to have a buffer. It's like to not, you are creative people. You're not going to stop. I mean, look what happens to people when they stop and they retire. They have a job and a goal. A lot of people just die like 4 or 5 years later.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to have something to excite yourself every day.
Well, if I can quote, we've found this amazing, I've got to talk about them, the Cat Club in Pontefract. And this is the kind of thing that we love, okay? So we moved north during COVID, and we both came from Lewis, Brighton area, where we had huge connections, big artist community, creative people. Moved to where we're living, and we didn't know anybody. And we found our sound engineer from this Cat Club, which is a passion project run by a guy who he would be really interesting for you to talk to, actually.
Oh, yeah.
And he started a vinyl club in his garage. And this has grown through a connection with the pub. And they have something called the Pigeon Loft. They have got everybody going there talking about music. So they do a vinyl listening night.
I like that.
Where they take the vinyl. And Arthur's just done it with Crazy World album.
Awesome.
So everybody sits and listens to the albums. There's an interview before, run by a guy who's got a podcast called Strange Brew. That's a great thing. So he interviews, everybody sits and listens. No speaking, no telephones, nothing, just an intense 35 to 40 people in this room. And then
the energy must be crazy. Does it vibrate from energy from people?
Absolutely, because I've never experienced it. It's the intensity of everyone listening to something without a gig setting, sitting there listening to it. You do feel this.
It almost feels overwhelming probably the first time you hear that. It's like being like in a chamber. It's like with those soundless chambers where you can't make a sound. Like it feels like you'd be like, whoa.
Yeah. And then everybody asks the questions and asks. It's just a beautiful thing. But what's happening is this has grown. Mm-hmm. And then they organise these Sunday performances. So Arthur went and played with Dan, just a sort of semi-acoustic,
Yeah.
And then it's there. It's that thing of performance. And so there's all these different ways to be an artist, still sing, still connect. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because that's where you see Arthur. Is he going to stop performing? Never. Because we went to see Malcolm Bruce and his blues trio, and we just went to watch. So they said, oh, come on, Arthur, get up and sing. Oh, what did Arthur do? Leapt off the stage onto the table. And it's, that to me is the magic. It's not the size of the stadium, the reality of trying to make a living without doing the bigger gigs to earn the money.
Making sure Arthur stretches before you guys go out at night, because who knows what he's going to be jumping on.
So unpredictable. He's got a bit of a chair hopping.
It's pretty funny.
The story about you. He loves to walk on the back of chairs.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. I remember doing, uh, it was the Pretty Things were uh, doing a live performance of SF Sorrow, their sort of their early um, concept piece, which was sort of an opera, but not quite, and in the very early days. And so this was a memorial of that. And my good friend Phil May was singing, and Dick Taylor, the bass player, still the Pretty Things, you know. And uh, David Gilmour was doing the guitar, so it was all, and I was doing the narration. So I did all the narration, and it was going down really nicely. And so I've forgotten who exactly asked. I think David Gilmour suggested, well, why don't you come out and sing Fire? So we're in a theatre with, you know, the usual theatre seats. And as you know, when you've got the theatre seats, you sit in them and you recline a bit.
Yeah.
And then some of the seat is still protruding out either side of the neck.
Kind of fixed. Yeah.
And so I got sort of carried away and ran from the front of the room, which was, you know, a big theatre room, all the way to the back, on the back of these chairs, you know, the seats, and managed to get all the way back. and so then you feel really good, and then the music gets a lift as well, because you just lose any fear of doing anything.
Yeah.
And
you just probably, that's crazy. And I think it's clear you also go into this spot musically where you leave yourself on a sort of way where it's like a next level. But I mean, you've been working with mind and thought since the 70s, anyhow, with different experimentations and stuff and ways of, so you've always been first one to leave your mind. You're like, I'm there. Like, you know what I mean? and I think you've got a point where you've, on some level, you're ahead of everybody else. And that's how these things happen. That's how you can be a performer at that level without doing the same stage moves, which I'm not knocking anybody. I like watching them, but that is not a thought out thing that a person does running across that. You know what I mean? That's not like you're in the moment.
Yes.
It's not so cerebral. It's really just cosmic, really. It's kind of trippy.
It's trippy, and it means the musicians themselves have a chance to really jump into the creative, which in some bands you wouldn't get that kind of chance because it's done a different way. It's very ordered and very controlled, and so I certain times I feel almost challenged to put myself into that place and sort of do something that is not part of the whole what we've rehearsed, what's going on in the music, and then wait for what comes from it, from everybody else, you know. And it is a wonderful feeling to be free from yourself.
I'm sure that no show is ever the same. I don't think, there's some shows I've seen where you see the second show down to the same thing they say to the audience or something. I'm sure that's never happened ever, no matter what period or what life you are in your life. I think you may have guardrails like we were talking about and stuff, a guidance, but to be a musician with you, besides feeling like you're on the edge of a cliff for the first couple of years of getting used to you, but as a musician, that's exciting for a lot of musicians, or scary, because you're like, I have to improvise, and improvising as an artist, because then they're improvising just like you. Not everybody can do that, and then you're working with everyone else, and so they're thinking all the time. You gotta get the right people for that, and that goes back to
that's
you did get some of the right people, and then they brought other people in, but they also have to work together.
Yeah.
And when I talked to Dweezil Zappa, one of the things he said, we were talking so much more important. I don't know, it was him and his dad or whatever. Frank, when you have a band, you got somebody come in, the party, and Frank's thing, he'd say, you have two choices, the door or the plane. Like, how are we getting out of here? Because there's no room for it in that ego. Some people like have a decent guitarist or a fantastic guitarist if the decent guitarist is a really good person too. Because you have to be invested in them as a person. And
Yes.
that goes back to the family that you guys have. Because I'm sure you're not gonna be hanging out all these years with them if they're knuckleheads. You need to have everything.
Yeah.
That's exactly, and that's it. Is I see the joy of everybody flying in their own way, but Dan, for instance, takes a kind of lot of the role of the showman alongside Arthur, but he's switching between lead guitar and keys and various other bits and bobs. But the beauty of the band is they're all doing that. I mean, this is like the caliber of musician there, but it's more than that. It's to do with their characters fit, because this whole show is about what's your life been about, Arthur? What is it you want to say? That's the whole purpose of it. So it came from a very intrinsic integrity, if you like, of it has a purpose. It has something to say. If it didn't, I wouldn't be interested, because it'd just be another, but it's about, you know, the point of, and I think through COVID being really extreme, of mental health now, I think is really,
Paramount.
yeah, because the world is moving too fast for any of us to comprehend or to feel grounded or to feel secure. So the only way to feel secure is to truly know yourself and to not be afraid of your dark as well as your light. So the show was to show through Arthur's catalogue that he was more than one hit wonder, that this is a man who spent his life being true
I hate
to
that word.
himself.
I hate the word hate, but I do not like hearing that word when people
No,
try that in a show. They say,
yeah,
"Oh, weren't they Wonder How Wonder?" I'm like, no, they had one song that everybody commercially liked, and it
yeah,
probably helps them fill clubs, which is awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
But they have 15 other albums that are really good that you haven't heard.
yeah. But
Yeah.
but the good thing about
Yes.
Arthur that I love is he loves that song, and so do I,
Good
because
song.
that's what keeps Arthur
Yeah.
alive.
But it's a good song. Like,
It's his calling card, and then he can show himself. And and the show, going back to this thing of each of those guys can, um, they all multitask, they all fly with each other, and we all have these kind of languages, and the laugh that goes on after it, because we just 2 shows back we did a show at Hebden Bridge, which was
mhm.
fantastic. The whole place jumping, everybody, and Jim suddenly got inspired, didn't he, halfway through Sam's solo in the drums. This was in the encore, which I have to say, the encore is brilliant. It's full of all, what's in it now? We've got
Long, long road.
Eyesight for the Blind, which is
Yeah.
amazing, played by this lot. And then it goes into this whole blues rock just out there. So
Yeah.
Jim got inspired, shot across the stage. So Dre and I were at the back, because I work with Dre, going, drop this now, drop that visual in, because we've got a live
Yeah.
feed. So I'm saying, what is he doing? Because Jim walked across. They then started a guitar battle, didn't they? Through the middle of, it was incredible. But driving back, this is how it works. Sam was saying, yeah, that's great, guys. Just, you just walk across the middle of my drums. But it's love, it's really, there's none of that going on. Everybody just is enjoying
But
it.
this is success. This is the picture, and this is what I think it's so important. I always talk about the real reality of what music is, and this is success. This is it. You're paying your bills. You're doing the next show. You're still being a creative person. Arthur, you're doing your life. People need to see you have a huge body of work. But even the people that are with you get to work with you. They have a family, but they get to take risks and be creative. That's what you want as an artist. So and you keep having enough food to go on the next day and pay your bills. That's success. Everything else is extra, you
Yeah.
know? And this is what the world looks like. And I guess one of the things I want to say is what about when am I going to see you guys in the US do some stuff? You guys do a lot of festivals.
Ah,
Any? I know it's expensive, so I understand if it can't happen. A lot of US states, like I talk about that at times in my shows too. I'm always going after what the artists have to deal with. But any plans that you can
well,
talk about if there are? If not, that's fine.
I'm going to be straight up and frank. Okay, we
I hope
desperately
you've read the whole show. We've been lying, do we? When someone goes, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm like, wait, I start questioning everything before that.
no, I'm kind of. Do I dress this up? No. The issue we have, the band are desperate to come, and I must say, Dan had a very big success with his own band, the Noisettes. So he's been to America. Jim has done a little bit in America and something more in Canada. Sam, I don't think has. So and Dre, who's just joined sound engineer, we will not come here without this unit. So that's to get the whole, because we've created this thing that is so finely tuned now. To switch in American artists for this band would just be so disrespectful to the band of everything we've gone through.
But that would be like him singing someone else's song again. That's not what you're doing.
Yeah. So we've got to get the entire. So if you can help us, please do, because everybody wants to come. Because America would love this show.
I think so, though.
I in my heart, I know it because I've been here with Arthur and I've seen the other band, and this is at the point where we should come now. It should be 2025 when we bring this show. And we tried. And the issue we've got, the visas alone are a mortgage.
Between $5,000 and $8,000 per person and paperwork. I talk about this because when I tell people, if that artist shows up in your town, you better go and say, I'll see you next time. Do not do that. Do not call yourself a fan and be like, I'm going to, you don't.
I love this man.
There will be no extra time.
You with us.
I know I make the fans crazy. People listen to my show because I'm like, it's important. So if I've repeated, I apologize to people, but it's so important that so you get the visas, so you have a full team, then you got to ship stuff over that you need, not just everything. Then you got to get a truck or two or three. Then you have to get insurance, venue insurance, and then it's like the mafia now. A lot of the venues in America, where they hit you with a second fee of your merch prices, which wasn't there because they feel like they're making it for COVID. But if they keep doing that, they're not going to have artists, so they're not going to have a club anyhow. Because there's going to be artists aren't going to go to the club. They'll make no money.
Yeah.
So there's a double dip there. And if you're from another country, then when they leave, the profit off the merch, they get double taxed again leaving.
Yeah, and then you've got that.
And the profit is the merch.
W Ben, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But
it's a money suck, and it takes a lot of money to break even in America.
Yeah. And we, if we broke even, great. But we need to get here. And we just straight up don't have that money. But all we need is someone to believe us and believe in Arthur and say, okay. And we would be happy to go out with somebody else. There's no egos in our band. It's not, we would just want to go and play. But equally, we have the other way around. People go, oh, can we come and be, support act? And well, actually, we can't afford to do that. We can't. Yeah. It's not, we don't want to support people. We can't. But we would, you've got the real deal here. This is what give me a pitch. Give me someone to go to. I could pitch this because you've got the real deal who can really, everybody, the comments that come after the show are, oh, that's like being in the 60s, what we always imagined it like, or the 70s. I just feel like I've been on a psychedelic trip. And it was, because it's not a light show. It's quite heavy and it's hard hitting. And then it does this roller coaster. But it just requires somebody to say, I'm going to back that and bring it to America. And as yet, we haven't found it. We had one agent, and because we didn't have stadium status on our dates that were booked, he couldn't see stadiums there. Not interested. So it's money, but it just
you need like a mega fan that can be a sugar daddy and give you guys a chance to get over here.
Yeah.
To do it. I mean, I have a lot of music people listen, so people listen. Somebody pass it on. It's what it comes down to. I mean, I think
But
there's a couple different bands. A good package would be great with you. A couple other different
yeah,
alternative type of music. Anyhow,
yeah,
could be a fun evening for people. Anyhow,
yeah,
to mix it up because
yeah,
you're blending audiences. That's what you want.
yeah.
They might not
Absolutely.
know you, and they go see this band, and next thing they're
Yeah.
walking away singing "Fire" on the way to the car. And that's how it goes, right? That's how you build an audience by going to gigs.
And that's
Yeah,
what's happened. We focused on the UK with an intention of we can't afford to go to USA unless we find this. So we're here and we will put out feelers whilst we're here. But in Europe, we've got a good agent who's feeding us to, strangely enough, we're kind of getting this market in metal
Yeah,
scene, and which makes sense because Arthur's corpse paint makeup first Saga. We've gone on a trajectory there, which people knocked us for, but it's working. So that is working in Europe. We are getting the fees that allow us to go and do the show. UK, we've focused and we have people come 5, 6 shows last year because they're loving it. So,
nice.
that's building. We could do that here, but we need someone. We
Well,
do
Europe's
need
been very good
backing.
though. Europe supports rock music, and I
Yeah,
think rock encompassing rock kept rock music alive for many years. The USA didn't.
yeah,
In
yeah.
Germany, there's a lot of USA bands that would
Very
go over to
correct.
Europe. There are still bands that are in the US. They tour Europe. They're
Yeah,
not very big over here in America. They're good bands, real
yeah,
good bands,
yeah,
but they don't make a dime here. They can't fill a club. In
yeah.
Europe, they're playing all the big festivals and they're
Hmm.
filling up the shows.
yeah,
It's very weird. There's a loyalty that you get in Europe for artists that are long term that you don't see here right now or for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah. No, I agree. I
That's not a
agree.
dig. That's like look at the revenue. Look at the clubs. That's just a fact.
Mm.
Or they like them, but they won't go out to them. Maybe European fans just have to get out of the house. They're
Yeah,
pacing things, and you're like, I had to get out of the house. And whereas America's like, I could just sit around and listen to
I
records.
think there may be truth in that. I
Yeah,
do think there may be
I don't know what it is. I don't want to put a label on it, but I do know as American, I do like to sit around and go to bed early. So maybe everybody else is the same way. No, I get up and I actually do go to the shows and stay up late and have an extra energy drink or something to make it some coffee, and
truth.
feel it. But I tell people if the artist is there, they're not going off, on some Mariah Carey jet. They're on the bus again. They're in a travel van. They're in a travel vehicle. If they get a shower in a regular hotel, it's once a week. They have
yeah,
bunks. They're falling asleep, crunched up in the car with your neck, and then they're smiling and performing for X amount of people, like it's a fresh. They're 20 years old doing it.
You
When
know,
everyone else is complaining and going to work from work, going there and just being sore watching, sitting down. So
you
there is
know
a
who we must
perspective.
mention. I think we should mention here is Brett Tabersel of Poisson Rouge in New York. He is fantastic. We have a show there,
Yeah.
guaranteed. He's told us, and that's a good example, I think, of a club and someone with real integrity and backing different, alternative bands and just live music in general. He's someone that stood out, I think, as really great. Um, so we want to go back there.
I definitely think a couple of showcases or something
Mm,
would put you in a good spot because the right person in the right spot, there's no
yeah,
one else doing it. There's no one else performing real music like that.
yeah,
If you have
yeah,
something different and it's real,
yeah.
they don't need the promoters don't need to like it.
No,
It's gonna make money. You know what I'm saying? It's like to me, like the record label is just a name for a bank that took your music money. You know what I'm saying? They didn't care if they liked you. They want because they get one. You get Arthur Brown. Arthur gets Fire. Then you're gonna get 15 Arthur Browns.
mm,
Every generation, everything. You always get a copy of a copy, and that's just reinvesting their money and probably a
mhm,
sure thing. That's not the risk of
yeah,
or the building a band. Like just like you build a business, your first album is your first store. Your second store is your second album. That's how you do it. You know, and that's why Arthur, I love Arthur because there's so many different albums in a very career. You can do different moods. You know, the only thing that makes me crazy is
Speaking
that I'm gonna say I don't want to say this
speaking of which, there
on
is a
iTunes. I
new
want to say
one
this on
on its way.
iTunes. When I go on iTunes, I do want to say this. You have so many band names. For me to put you organized, I have to go in and like relabel everything with your name on it. Otherwise, It's just like Arthur Brown in this, Arthur Brown in this, Arthur Brown in this, because there's so many that is that I feel like that'd be amazing. Like they have something else like 5 layers down. Where's that album? To find it, I literally have to relabel like 10 albums because of all the different titles. That's my only grievance. It's not even a grievance. I just have to do a little
I
typing.
think you're right. So as the manager, we've gone all out on Arthur Brown. Forget anything else, Arthur Brown, because it's the crazy world of Arthur Brown. It's da 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 of. He's the god of Hellfire, Arthur Brown. It's because that's the umbrella under all those names. So that's what we've tried. But there is a new album coming. We have to tell you that.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Exciting.
Good.
It's a good one.
I hope it's got a new name too, so I can have to add it.
Yeah, it's got a different name, but it'll be Arthur
excellent.
Brown and
The Crazy World of Arthur Brown and Claire, and just keep adding and Claire. Yeah, just keep adding it.
So the dog.
Oh yeah, with the whole family in it. I mean, I can't encourage people enough if they get a chance to see you in Europe. I mean, hopefully I'll be able to see you someday, but I do understand what you're dealing with. And people that are out there, if you know somebody, spread the word on. I do have a lot of music, different industry people that watch the show. Check it out. Do a little research. It is a real deal. I love that expression, the real deal. Everyone's singing and playing guitars and instruments, and it's live. And as you see, you're still controlling things. It's not even choreographed in a way where it's like automated with a laptop. It's not the guy with the 15 neck tattoos, not even singing with a computer on a stage. Was it the big thing? One guy it happened to, but it happens. It symbolized the fact that a band. This is last year. The guy got his laptop stolen. They couldn't do the show. You couldn't do your musical performance because your laptop was stolen. Okay? Google it afterwards. So that is kind of symbolic. Maybe it's a little extreme. Not everyone's having a problem. But that's kind of symbolizes like, I mean, how many gigs you've been to, all of a sudden the gear gets stolen or something, and your guitarist is borrowing guitar from somebody. It's happened probably, I'm sure, to you. It's happened, you know what I mean? It's not the best sounding gig, whatever. But you got to grab another thing. You got to sing through whatever. The PA is always crappy because they're always going to try undercutting you on your contract of what you're supposed to have, right? But it's not going to stop you, though.
Welcome to
the fans will complain. He sounded bad. They won't know the PA system, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
The beauty of this is we can go from the most exquisite top-end place to the pub where I've literally been in the cupboard with the bottles doing that, and all fantastic gigs. And sometimes that we did a gig in Germany at an electro underground club, and we all arrived and thought, oh, we're not going to be able to do this. They were so amazing. They suddenly transformed this space, and it was probably one of the best gigs we've.
It was, yeah.
It was so brilliant. There were only about 70 people showed up. Really bad promotion. Everything about it should have gone wrong.
Yeah.
And it was just.
But they used every single bit of equipment they had in-house. They had the sound coming down from all the walls, all the way the length of the club. So everywhere you were in the club, you heard everything. It was
amazing. Yeah.
And the lighting guy was great. They were willing to go along with all of our, adventurous needs, if you like. And it turned out to be an amazing concert, one of the best.
Yeah, that is amazing. And I think, it's funny because there's 70 people there, and just like the vinyl group, the club. Like I do this show, and I say, I don't do it for money. I don't make money off it. It costs me money. I don't care. This is exciting. We're talking about something. I like vinyl. I just wanted to talk about vinyl. I'll have I'll have it on our song like Arthur will be like, pick your top your vinyl. We talk about it. We get nerdy about it to excite people to go back. If you don't have vinyl, I want to inspire people. I want these artists to inspire, to keep it going. Yeah. This is the real thing. Go back and get a record. Let's get records back. Let's maybe not CDs because you can't see the print on them. It's so small. Albums, artwork. It's a process. It's a ritual.
Yes.
You want to open it up. You want to see pictures of the band and imagine what it is and have an imagination. That's the whole creativity of having an artist.
Yeah, it is.
And also, the kind of ethos of an artist out playing. It's sort of like word of mouth, really.
Totally.
But you go and see you hear something you want, you think, oh, I'd really like that. You become part of the group fans of a genre, and then you go and see people you don't
Others. I
really
think that's
know.
why the metal community likes you. The metal
Yes,
community
It
is
is.
very family oriented, and I laughed. I talked to somebody today. He's like a heavy thrash thing, whose music I love, 'cause I like all types of music. But the truth is, he was talking about how they're having pillow fights. I'm like, and that's how metal gets. Metalheads love cats and dogs and have, you know what I mean? They'll have death paint on, but there's a poster of their dog with them. That's what matters.
And I have
well, one
we
one
agree with that, don't we?
we do agree with that, and also when I was first starting in music and I was playing bass and singing,
Yeah.
it was the time when a lot of the American blues artists were first coming to England with a sort of regular audience base, but they were being fed into that audience base, and so if it was one that the Rolling Stones had done, one of this guy, the audience would be massive. So I went to see Memphis Slim, who was one of the more sophisticated keyboard artists of the blues. And I got there, and it was in a town called Reading, and it has a huge hall that is. It probably takes about 3 or 4 thousand people, and it's not a massive, but it's a big club. And so it came to the appearance of Memphis coming out onto the stage through the curtains and looking around the room. And the audience was myself and 2 other people. So, and he looked around, and then he looked down at us and he said, "Hey, fellas, never mind this. Best party I ever had, there was only 2 of us." And he said, "Come up on the stage." So we stood next to him while he was playing, and he did his whole set just for the 3 of us. And he played unbelievably, and that's always stayed with me, that there's no reason ever not to just play the fullness of the music that's inside you. And it's not to do with fame and all of that at all. It's to do with whoever's there, you're communicating with them.
And that's what makes you a lot different than a lot of other artists, and that's, you know, why I always have you on, keep having you on, because I can't say it enough from the rooftops, you know what I mean? Of this is, I mean, the Kingdom Come album is like one of my favorite albums of all time. It's my
And
top
mine.
10 of all music, you know. And not everybody knows that one. I'm like, you guys, so it's but like nowadays I'm saying, it's eclectic. It's this Asian time, how many years it's been. It's great.
That's so interesting to hear that, because Arthur's still really friendly with Mark Radcliffe, who was the manager of that period. And my favorites are the Kingdom Come album. I think they're, I mean, we listen and I say, how could you surpass that, really, in terms of how groundbreaking and out there and experimental they are. So actually the new album, as we kind of, it's all about experimenting, but those albums, genuinely, when people come up at the end of the show now, and I do the merch table, so they say, which album would you say? And I say, okay, which songs did you really enjoy? And a lot of the people don't know the songs well enough. They say, oh, the one where, and I say, okay, so that's Sunrise.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's that's Galactic Zoo album there that you need to be looking at, and then Time Captives. Oh yeah, and it's the Kingdom Come material that they're responding to in the show.
Are they? Good.
Yeah.
That makes me happy. That makes my heart happy. I do want to say, as I don't take all your time, but I do want to say, it's as an artist, I think it's always unfair to yourself to say, how can you top that? Just like when a singer comes into another band, you've already been that singer. You can't come in and there's already this singer. There's already an Arthur Brown Kingdom Come album. There can't be another one.
There
So
can't
you're
be.
not going to compete with
That's
it.
it.
Unfortunately, we've been trained with, especially with record labels and royalties and this and that, that it's a competition. I mean, how
Yeah.
many bands came out and they had a six times platinum album? Fantastic. Their next album, a lot of them are usually, to me, left turns and better.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
remember Prince had Purple Rain? Then he did he did Paisley Park, totally psychedelic, totally different.
Yeah.
Nobody knew
Yeah.
what to do with it. I thought it was one of his best albums
yeah,
because it was a left turn. Don't
yeah.
ever compare
Well,
yourself to what you did because you're not that person right now.
Exactly.
that's right. And in that sense, if you're going to maintain a certain level of creativity without making it always in the same slot, you've got to be willing to uh, go, okay, in order for this new album that we're making with this new music to have the full strength, we will on the next tour not play any of the numbers that the people know us by. We're going to play only this, and you don't get the money behind it, and you have to create a new audience. And some of the ones that remember you from the first one will come,
Yeah.
and a very few will stay. But you will be part of some making a new scene grow that appreciates a different, along with some other bands that no one's ever heard of. That maybe some of them it's their first album or something, and so you have to be willing to do that.
I have a lot of respect for that. I think I've gone to a band that did that the first time when I was younger, and I'm like, they weren't playing the hits, and I'm like, what the heck at first. By the third song in, I'm like, I get it. I've got the album. And then my mind is flipped forever. Like a couple songs in, that I'm not a robot, and I was like, oh my God, this is experience I'm having tonight is an experience that I don't have to, I'll go home, I play the hits again. I'm not against the hits. The world needs an AC/DC that plays a similar music. That's what they like. I like hearing consistency on some things, but the world also needs an Arthur Brown. If you can't be a fan, if you're a fan, true fan of the music, you can respect an artist, even if it's an album you don't like. I mean, I'll say like example is Metallica's Lulu. I respect Metallica for doing that album. I would never take that from them. Lou Reed's voice just makes me want to drive into a wall. The album kills me. I've tried listening to it out of respect, but man, I will argue to the end of the day that they should have made that album because they wanted to as artists. But I also
Yeah.
shouldn't have to listen to it ever again. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like as a fan, you got to support that artist to make those creative choices. Otherwise, it's bland pop music.
The way that I see it, and that's, I think, what I was trying to say, and where we've gone working together to come back to that thing, is be true to yourself and create something that is coming from your heart or wherever it is that it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
If it hasn't got that integrity, don't bother, because to me, to us, that sounds really brutal, but I do mean it. You've created so much stuff. What have you got left to say? What is it you want to say, and how do you want to say it? Do it entirely the way that is true and coming from that space. So that's what I was meaning by you can't create, exactly like you're saying. Why do you want to create another Galactic Zoo or another Journey? You don't. What you want to do is say what you're trying to say or feel that you have to say now or want to communicate is a better way to put it. Do it with full integrity as far out as you want to go, but just make it really honest of, that's the sound I wanted to create. That's how I wanted it blended. I wanted to say this part, but do it your own way. And then I think that's what people love. It's, okay, I don't really, and we have this said so many times, not really sure what I've just seen, but God, it was amazing. And it's like, great.
But that's it. I mean, really and that can carry over to anything,
Yeah.
And you're not making money. Well, why, I hear, why do the podcast if you're not making money? I'm like, because I'm a conduit. I'm always meeting people and it touches and like I saw that thing. I didn't like the artist, but now I like their music because I heard the interview. I went back and listened to it. I get a new perspective.
Yeah.
That's why you do it. You don't do it for any, It's exactly what you said. I
Yeah.
want to. When does the album come out? When can we expect the album? Do we have an idea? End of the year, beginning next?
Mid next
Mid?
year.
Okay.
Yeah. So fairly soon. We've got quite a lot of work. And that's the other thing is each process that we're in is feeding all the other bits. So now we'll start on the artwork for the album. And yeah, it's constant creation and evolving. And also, you know what I think is a really important point is to go back and reassess. So however old you are, however long you've been doing it, however great you think you are, we go back, watch the shows back. You look and say, oh, okay, I'm going to work on. There's a constant evaluation, self-evaluation of how did that communicate to the audience, because it's not just yourself you're doing.
No, I get that. A lot of artists, I know a lot of artists do that. The more creative artists that do that, because they're working it for, they have a goal, like an athlete.
And that is
like a boxer. You're as good as your last fight because you want to make sure in your mind, not career wise, but I'm saying because it's a goal, you gotta motivate. Maybe I enjoyed this. I want to thank you for giving us time, both of you and Claire. I'm glad we could do this and
it's
people
really
can
lovely. And
realize
thank you so much. And
what's going on.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe when the album comes out or prior to it, we can get
Yeah.
together and we can do a breakdown. We can do a breakdown of the songs and the artwork and talk about it and be nerds about it.
It would be
Lovely.
really a fantastic album to be nerdy on, because it's Arthur's. This album was, okay, Arthur, what do you want to say? What do you need?
We can go through every track. I haven't done that in a
Really
while, but I love
beautiful.
that.
It's really beautiful. It's
I think-
like the last track on it is.
Let's do it. So
I think you'll get it.
all right.
I really appreciate you for.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you guys. Let me know. I mean, you got my information too. So if it, yeah, the album comes out sooner or whatever, touch you. Let me know. Say, hey, here's the thing. Let's get set up.
Cool. That's really.
People, there's links for Arthur's YouTube and all this stuff is underneath the show as usual. I put all the links underneath the YouTube page and podcast and Spotify. I don't even know. The internet's grabbed my stuff now. I don't even know half the podcasts that carry my stuff anymore. I really don't. It does. Like once you put it out there, it's gone. Like I still find things now that I'm like, I didn't put that there. You know what I mean? So that's the internet.
An energy of its own. Yeah.
So, but the point is, the links will be there for everybody to go follow up after this talk.
Gorgeous. Okay.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy your trip, and this has been fantastic. Take care.
And Merry Christmas.
Oh, thank you. You too.
Oh,
right?
yeah.